I have a confession to make. I hate traveling, but not because of the destinations. I love the beaches, the nature. I love visiting a new place and seeing the culture. What I do hate is everything that happens before you get on the plane, the planning, the organizing, getting everyone on the same page. Because every single time you're on a road trip, you feel like you've missed something or someone doesn't know what's happening tomorrow because it was mentioned somewhere in the group chat and everyone forgot about it. This August, I'm traveling to California, and instead of duct taping spreadsheets, group chats, emails, and so on, as I usually would have done, I've decided that I'm going to build an app. Now, the obvious move here, and what I would usually do in this scenario, is I would open up my IDE. I would get on Claude Code and start prompting to try and scaffold the app. But given my experience as an Amazon developer, and before that, I was in an app marketing agency, I realized that the number one thing to do first is to research, create documents, and plan it out thoroughly so that you're not stuck halfway through your project deciding on what the little button color should be. I started by brainstorming with Claude, mapping out the competitor landscape, choosing a color scheme, and seeing a product gap that I could actually own. The main players in the space are apps like Wonderlog or TripIt and a few others, and they all solve pieces of the problem. Wonderlog is probably the closest to what I'm trying to build, but some pieces are missing. For example, the budgeting tab is locked behind a paywall, there's no AI assistance, and the design can be improved on. TripIt is great for organizing your bookings, but it's not a planner at all. There is a clear gap here for something modern, collaborative, and free where it matters. Also, there would be no video if I wasn't making an app. Once I had the color direction, I used Claude to generate mockups of the main screens like home, itinerary, budget, collaborators, and so on. This let me validate the feel and look of the app before I started designing more in Figma. Then I decided to ask Claude to give me better prompts so I can send them over to Figma and see what Figma creates. And these are the screens that you're looking at right now. The one thing that I wanted to pay close attention to here is actually the onboarding screens. I asked Claude to generate a few, and I realized quickly that they need to be edited heavily because they were not following best practices. Onboarding is where apps lose most of the users. If the user does not feel like they're getting the value in the first 60 seconds or even 30 seconds, they're going to close, delete, and never look at it again. That's why it has to be short, concise, showing you the value, and hopefully providing that aha moment when the user understands what the app is for, how to use it, and whether they should be upgrading to a paid tier anyway. While I was working on the screens, I decided it would be good to use my free time while everything was generating to try and look for a good logo. Now, I went through ChatGPT, Claude, and Figma to try and generate something that I would like, but it didn't lead me anywhere. So I decided to put it aside for the moment, as the icon is important, but maybe not at this stage. I can always come back to it. The name, though, the name came out in a way I really like. Let me explain. The name is Voyage. While brainstorming the name with AI, a few of the options that kept coming up were based on the word voyage, or in French, voyage. Now, the problem there is that the English and French spellings are exactly the same. However, the French one carries the elegant French accent with it. So I went back to my Russian roots. In the Russian language, we also have the same word, except the letter at the end is a Cyrillic letter zh. And when I was looking at this letter zh, the thing that I was thinking about is it looks almost like a hub and sort of roads and connections coming and going out of it. And I thought that's kind of genius. So I thought that the name would be Voyage with that letter, and the logo would also be that letter, even though many users would not be able to get the reference. Now that I had the name, the rough screens, and a rough logo idea as well, I needed somewhere to write all of this down so I can reference it later. So I asked Claude to create 3 documents. The first is the design system. This document answers the question, what does Voyage actually look like? Not a specific screen, but general rules that should apply to every single piece of design. The color palette is built around deep navy and light amber or warm amber for the highlights. Claude convince me that this is supposed to have a premium editorial feel. The document contains color tokens, typography, spacings, logo usage rules, and anything else needed to design anything in the app. This way, if I'm designing something or if I'm prompting an AI, the result stays consistent. The second document is a product requirements document, the PRD. This is the most important one and actually most likely to change because most of it was AI generated based on my brief conversations with Claude and not based on certain users in mind. But the thing is, I'm not building for any specific user in mind. I'm building for myself. So the app should actually fulfill my wishes. So here's the rough overview of what I need the app to do. In August, I'm traveling to California. Flying, renting a car, traveling to different cities, visiting restaurants, local attractions, going to a concert, staying in different hotels, and so on. So what I need the app to do at a bare minimum before I fly out is a day-by-day itinerary, a budget tracker, the ability to import flight and hotel bookings, collaborative editing so I can share the trip and have anyone add or suggest events and things to do. And of course, I wanted to work offline because I cannot rely safely in a different country that I will always have data. The nice to haves, probably reserved for the general launch of the app, would be AI suggestions, trip templates, social aspects of the app, sharing it with other people, and things like packing lists. And this is all quite ambitious because I have around 70 days for building, testing, and deploying the app, making sure it works correctly before I leave Vancouver. The third document is technical architecture. This is where all the information about the tech stack, the database structure, and any other high-level decisions are stored about the app. The biggest decision here was actually the platform. What should I use? Should I build both for Android and iOS? Should it be a web-based app? And I went for iOS. The reason is pretty simple. Most of North America uses iOS devices, and iOS users are way more likely to pay for the app, which is great. But also with iOS, I get a bunch of native support for the Apple devices, and that means better animations, better map integration, anything you can name actually. Whereas if I was building it on something like React Native and supporting both Android and iOS, there would be some gaps in that quality, and I'm afraid to lose those users, so I would rather have it working perfectly on one platform and then expand to other ones if I need to. So what is the tech stack? Obviously, it'll be Swift and Swift UI, and I'll be using Supabase for the backend. So that includes all the authentication, the storage, and so on. Very useful, very quick to set up. Now, the document actually goes way deeper than what I'm describing here. But since we're not actually developing any of these parts yet, I will not go into detail on those either. So you'll see those in future videos. And that's all I have for this video. Over the span of a couple of days, I've gotten a good idea of what the app is, what features will be in the app, what tech stack I'll be using, the design system, all the foundational and core things that we can always go back to and rely on. So next episode, we're gonna be looking at actually starting scaffolding the app and trying to get some of the basic features working. So if you want to follow this build, subscribe, like my video, and see you in the next one.
Meow.